Boxing during dinner here from Casa Alvarez. We're
Yes.
not at a restaurant. As you can see, I have yogurt. He has Muscle Milk, David, and Harold Calderon, 11-0, 7 KOs. This is how we treat our,
Yeah, he's got a
our
kind
prospects,
bar.
man. We couldn't get him like
I could've done-
a decent salad or
I
fish
know,
or
I
something.
really screwed up. Well, I know he's trying to make weight. The guy's fighting in 2 weeks, so I'm not gonna.
So that kind of works.
Don't feed the models.
But we're doing it from the comforts of my house, and Anna isn't here, and I didn't cook today, so
It's still
this is what it is.
Boxing before dinner?
Before dinner, yeah. There's still light out, even though you guys aren't supposed to know that. But anyway,
We're really
boxing
screwing all
during
this
dinner.
up.
Tons of stuff to talk about. Harold Calderon, he's gonna be fighting November 11th down here at the former Radisson Mart and Airport, whatever they call it now. It's been through a lot of changes, but we'll talk about Harold's fight a little later. But Harold's gonna join the conversation here to talk about some of the upcoming fights. Pacquiao Vargas. So Manny Pacquiao supposedly retired after his fight against Tim Bradley. We knew that wasn't gonna last long. He's senator now in the Philippines, but when you're a fighter, you have that itch to come back. And there's also, if there's financial issues and everything, but I'm not gonna get into Manny Pacquiao's personal life. He's coming back, and that's to the benefit of us, the boxing fan, because Manny Pacquiao is a great fighter, one of the best all time. He's a guy that we enjoy to watch fight. And he's gonna be fighting Jesse Vargas. I know Top Rank wants to kind of set an heir apparent to Pacquiao within the promotion. I don't think Jesse Vargas is that guy, but at this point of Pacquiao's career, and I'll start with Harold, do you think that Jesse Vargas gives him a tough fight because Pacquiao is a little older, a little more, I guess if you want to call it damaged, even though he really isn't damaged, but do you think this is Vargas's moment to make it to the next level?
I believe he has the chances now. It's not the same Pacquiao from 2006, 7, 8. He was coming up and he was vicious. He's a little more calmer now, I believe, and I think Jesse has a chance of winning, but I still see Pacquiao beating Vargas.
And David, earlier we're here talking off camera, and you mentioned that you're kind of surprised that Vargas has made it to this point. Is it something skill wise? Do you or do you think his heart has taken him further than his skill? I guess allows.
I think his heart really has taken him a lot of places, and so when I make a comment like that, I do still stand by it. I'm surprised that a guy like Jesse Vargas, has made it this far. I'm surprised he put a dent in Tim Bradley's chin, at the end of their fight. And that's just a testament to the fact that Jesse Vargas lost every round of that Tim Bradley fight and still hung in there to almost win the fight by knockout. I mean, I don't believe, everybody remembers that 10 seconds where the clock ran off and the ref sort of stopped the fight prematurely because he thought he heard the bell ring and stuff. I don't believe that would have, made the difference at the end. But the reality is Jesse Vargas is one of those guys who squeezed every ounce out of his talent. The only loss on his record is against Tim Bradley, who, outside of a couple fights against Manny Pacquiao, is really one of the best welterweights on the planet.
Yeah.
And but the reality is Manny Pacquiao is still probably, I don't know if this is a controversial statement, but in the retirement of Floyd Mayweather, probably still the best welterweight on the planet.
Yeah.
And that includes fighters like Kell Brook, includes fighters like Keith Thurman, because the reality is people sort of sleep on him, but he whitewashed Tim Bradley in their last fight, and realistically he's won all 3 of their fights.
Yeah, and like you said, David, I don't think it would have made a difference if it would have gone an extra 10 seconds against Tim Bradley. I mean, Tim Bradley, for those Walking Dead viewers, you could hit him in the skull with a bat like Negan did to the 2 people he hit. I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but and Tim Bradley will still stand. I mean, I think he would have survived an extra 10 seconds. However, Jesse Vargas, since then he beat Saddam Ali, he has a belt.
Yep.
I still don't think he'll beat Pacquiao. I don't think it's enough to beat Pacquiao at this point. And speaking to like an heir apparent to Top Rank, I think in the division, the guy that Top Rank wants to see may possibly beat Pacquiao in that situation, and that I actually want to see him fight Pacquiao's Terrence Crawford.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fight that needs to be made. I think Crawford is an amazing fighter. He's one of my favorites right now in the sport. A little bit of a stinker against Victor Postol, but I think it was more that Crawford wanted to show the world he could box and dominate in that manner. Don't you think?
Well, to me, Crawford took his time. He knew he was in with a legit boxer, somebody who realistically had a better range than him. It was a little bit of a stinker, but when it came around to it, Crawford, after 4 rounds, had his way with Victor Postol. And now Victor Postol wasn't, a world-changing, world-beating type of fighter, but actually Terrence Crawford, as you mentioned, him now just signed to fight John Molina Jr. on that date that went from Canelo and took away, went to Golovkin and was taken away. Now he's taking that fight on December 10th. I don't know if Top Rank wants to put Pacquiao in with Crawford yet. I do believe that they want to. And I do believe it depends on how good Pacquiao looks against Jesse Vargas.
It'll be awesome.
I think so. If Pacquiao still looks like a world beater, then I think that Crawford fight gets pushed back even further because they know that they can milk 1 or 2 more pay-per-views out of Pacquiao, which really is, granted his pay-per-view numbers have dropped, but he's still the biggest moneymaker on that entire stable.
And we need to wrap up round 1.
Oh, yeah.
But before I do,
I won't hit you after the bell.
Really quick, before we get out of the Pacquiao theme. Pacquiao Canelo, could that be the next fight possibly?
Freddie Roach has said he wants it. I mean, Canelo gets better with every fight, and Pacquiao gets older with every fight. But it's a very interesting.
Harold, what do you think?
I don't think it's a fair match. I think Pacquiao, he's a small welterweight, and Canelo, he's huge. He's a what?
He's a super middleweight, basically, by the time he fights.
And round 1's about to end.
Boom. We'll see you in round 2.
Round 2 here on Boxing During Dinner. We're going to keep talking about news around the sport really quick. One of my favorites of all time. And when everybody asks me, hey, Armando, look, you've been covering boxing for a while. You've been covering sports for a while, not just boxing. And they ask me, what's your favorite interview? And I don't hesitate. It's Bernard Hopkins.
Yeah.
Bernard Hopkins is a guy I've been able to interview one-on-one a whole bunch of times. I've interviewed, with a lot of microphones around, and as well. And Hopkins is that type of guy that you would ask one question, you would just ask him like, "Hey Bernard, how's it going?" Or, "How's training coming for your next fight?" And an hour and a half later, you're asking the second question. He's one of the most exciting interviews I've ever had. The guy covers all aspects of whatever you were like. He reads your mind. Like he knew what you were gonna basically ask. And one of the greatest fighters. I mean, at 52, this guy's still doing it. And he's not taking a fight against a bum either. He's going to fight Joe Smith, the former #1 pick in the NBA.
1995 NBA draft out of Maryland.
And Joe Smith, he knocked out Fonfara. I mean, he kicked his ass.
Fafara's given everybody in the light heavyweight division hell, including guys like Adonis Stevenson, who is technically still the guy to beat in that division.
So with that said, does Hopkins defy Father Time again and retire with a victory against Joe Smith?
The thing is, you want to believe it is the case that because he's done this for so long that he continues to reinvent himself, and you just think he's going to lose and then he doesn't. He actually, despite the fact that he was pretty much whitewashed by Kovalev, looked like he still belonged in the ring against arguably at that time the most dangerous person in the weight class. Now Ward is up there and stuff, but you think about the level of competition, and you're right, he's no pushover. Joe Smith can beat
he's a good fighter.
A ton of light heavyweight contenders, and now he's in against a 52-year-old and he's an underdog. It's Bernard Hopkins, is a guy who manages to solve everybody. I think he may be, this is going to be my Armando statement, he may be the smartest fighter in the history of boxing. I'm not saying he's necessarily been able to execute and implement all those things now at the age of 52 that he would have if he had all those smarts as a 35-year-old fighter, which is also considered old in boxing. But I have to think that Bernard Hopkins is going to win this until I'm proven that he's too old to do it, and he's not.
I think so too. And Harold, as a fighter, this is something that's been the key to success for Hopkins. He, throughout his career, and I don't know many fighters that do this. I mean, Hopkins and Mayweather, and I'm not sure who else. But these are guys that they'll fight, and they remain that same weight in the same shape throughout the entire year, lifetime, decade, everything. So how important is it? Because a lot of people, I mean, we know tons of fighters, I mean, that they'll fight and they balloon up like 30, 40 pounds. I mean, overnight. And that's how they walk around. How important is it to success, especially seeing Hopkins and Mayweather, to maintain that physical level, even when you don't have a fight schedule?
Yeah, I believe that's very important. You gotta stay ready all the time, so you don't have to get ready. You know what I mean? So these guys, they put in the work all the time in the gym, and it's a lifestyle. So they just don't lose sight of the big picture. So I see it, and I try to follow that too. Like, I try not to gain so much weight after a fight, just to stay ready for the next one and keep it moving. Keep the gears going and going, so you don't have to start from the bottom.
Yeah, and it makes it a lot easier. And hey, young fighter here, he's taking note, and a lot of young fighters out there, I would say take it serious. I mean, there's not many guys like Roberto Duran that could balloon up to 200 pounds and then win the welterweight title.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a special fighter. But look at Hopkins and Mayweather. I mean, I think that should be testament to younger fighters of being, that's what you need to do. And really quick, as we wind down round 2, Showtime puts out the schedule. I mean, it's like a dream schedule for boxing fans, and
which is about time, by the way.
Yeah, and 2 fights that I wanna take a stab at really quickly. Frampton Santa Cruz 2, and Thurman versus Danny Garcia. And Harold, they're sporting the Keith Thurman look. Or I don't know if Keith Thurman sports the Harold Calderon look.
I'm going with that one.
But Danny Garcia, after taking so much shit, I mean, he still has an interim fight, but he finally stepped up to the plate, fighting Keith Thurman.
I mean, I think he's always stepped up to the plate, honestly. They throw anybody in front of him, he gets the job done, you know what I mean? So I think this is going to be another test. It's going to be an interesting fight. I don't know who's going to win. I just hope the best man wins.
It's a good fight.
Because this is going to be really good.
It's a damn good fight.
One punch could change the game. That's my opinion.
And that fight. Danny Garcia's entire career has really been predicated on the fact that one punch can change things, because he was a big underdog going into the Amir Khan fight, and he was getting outclassed for 3.5 rounds until that haymaker of a left hook came out of nowhere and changed his whole career. Now, to Danny Garcia's credit, I'm going to side with Harold a little bit here and agree that every time he has stepped up to the plate, he's somehow pulled it off. Now,
he's done it.
I think he lost to Mauricio Herrera. I think that he has been in way tougher than he should have been against guys like Lamont Peterson.
I thought Lamont Peterson edged that fight.
Edging that fight too. So Danny Garcia has earned everything that's been given to him, but he's also been given a few things that maybe he shouldn't have. I think and you really haven't seen him challenge at that level in probably about 2 years now since he stepped up to welterweight. Robert Guerrero gave him hell for the first half of that welterweight title fight that he ended up winning. So I think this is a legitimate welterweight in Keith Thurman, who's proven that he can beat legitimate welterweights.
And he can hit.
And he can hit, and he can box as well. So I personally favor Keith Thurman in this fight based on legitimacy at welterweight and recent resume. But Danny Garcia, every single time I say he's going to get his ass kicked, finds a way to prove that he's a better fighter than I thought he was. And that's what makes this so compelling.
And I'm going to leave our Frampton Santa Cruz conversation for
round 3.
Round 3. Round 2 went a little long. It was like kind of opposite Vargas Bradley, and it actually went like 80 seconds longer. But Frampton and Santa Cruz, it's a rematch of a very entertaining fight, right? I mean, the fight could be possibly fight of the year. It was a fantastic fight between 2 fantastic fighters. However, I watched that fight a few times. And to me, it's one of those fights that they could fight 100 times, and you're gonna get the same result 100 times. It's nothing against Leo Santa Cruz. He's a fantastic fighter. It's just that I think Santa Cruz did everything he could in that fight to beat Carl Frampton, and he didn't. Carl Frampton's a superior defensive fighter, which he showed in the fight. He could brawl, he could hit, he could take a punch. And then Santa Cruz doesn't hit that hard either. Do you see a scenario where Santa Cruz could, I don't know what he could do different
Yeah.
to beat Carl Frampton.
One of the things that people tried to sell Santa Cruz on before he was a known name was that he was a mini Margarito. And I tend to think that's the same thing. Antonio Margarito, much like Leo Santa Cruz, is a fighter with one speed, one dimension. That is, he doesn't mind getting hit. He keeps coming. He throws a high volume of punches, and he's dangerous for almost anybody that he fights. But Carl Frampton's a better fighter, period. And I actually expect to see a more clear victory. I mean, granted, this first victory I think was
Right.
clear enough. I think the fight's going to be even more clear the second time around.
Yeah.
And that's not a knock on Leo Santa Cruz. It's just
Not at all.
He's,
I mean,
he's a certain type of fighter, and I don't think he has the class to step up and beat Frampton.
and he may beat 99% of the fighters in that division. I mean, maybe he won't beat a Rigondeaux, or maybe he won't beat a Lomachenko if he moves up in weight, but I don't think he's going to beat Carl Frampton. Do you think Leo Santa Cruz has a shot in that fight?
I think it's gonna be an exciting fight, and it's gonna have probably Leo's gonna have a little bit. It's gonna be on top of the fight, other round sometimes, and then Frampton. I think same results gonna happen again. Yeah, I think because I like defense, and he counters and does all that. So I see he's a little smarter too. So.
Yeah, we know what Santa Cruz is going to bring. Santa Cruz is going to throw about 150 punches around. I mean, the guy does not get tired. What stamina. So like David said, it's not a knock on Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz is a fantastic fighter. I just think Carl Frampton, if he does that same fight, I don't see him losing if they fight 100 times. But before we finish boxing during dinner, Harold Calderon, he's going to be fighting November 11th, as we mentioned at the top of the show. If you would like to tell our viewers a bit about your opponent, you're going to be fighting in your hometown of Miami for the first time in your career. That has to be exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's going to be my homecoming, coming home, Miami. I'm going to be fighting at the I apologize. The Airport Convention Center, November 11th. I'm going to be fighting Elvin Perez. He's a veteran.
And his record is what I think is 28,
He's like
13 or 28 and 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, so fighting a guy like Elvin Perez with so much experience. I mean, at this point of your career, you have 11 fights. That just has to be a plus. Fighting somebody that's been in there with good fighters and has been around for a while.
Yeah, that's true. I want to test myself. I know I belong in there, but I just want another. I want to prove it again. Like I'm fighting somebody tougher, and as I keep moving on, I want to keep fighting tougher and tougher guys. So because I want to be a world champion one day. So it starts one fight at a time, and he's the next step for me to get there. So.
And more than 2/3 of your fights have ended in knockout, and you've been fighting a lot of 4-rounders, which to me makes it even more impressive to have a knockout percentage like that. In a fight against a guy who's really not known to lose fights by knockout, he's been in there, like you said, with a couple of guys. Over a 6-rounder, what are you hoping to achieve? Are you hoping to get rounds, or are you just hoping to take what's available to you and finish the show when you can?
Basically, I'm gonna try and work. If I see the knockout opportunity, I'm gonna definitely jump on it. But I'm just gonna try to work and show that I'm the better fighter that night, and just put in the work. And I've trained hard for this fight, so there's only one outcome that can happen. So that's gonna be me with my hand up, victory.
And speaking of knockouts, Junieski Gonzalez is going to be on the card, so it's an awesome card. And if you want to buy tickets, this is the guy to contact for tickets. If you want to give them a way to contact you, and then you could also contact us here at Boxing During Dinner, and we'll get you in touch with Harold.
Mm-hmm.
You can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram name is at Harold Calderon _. You could DM me for information. I'm gonna post a link, or on my Facebook too, Harold Calderon 1. There's gonna be more information there where you could contact me to get some tickets.
And we'll have the information up on the Boxing During Dinner
Absolutely,
Facebook page.
and it's just a great thing to get boxing down here, Harold, because we had Daniel Placides last week, and we had you this week, and two different cards, exciting fights coming down to South Florida. Being here for almost your whole life in Miami, it's about time they start kicking up the boxing game, because it's been kind of dormant for a bit.
That's definitely true. I'm excited. They're bringing back boxing to Miami. Starting with the show November 5th, where
In Boynton, I
And
think.
yeah, and he's a good friend of mine too, Danny. So
Yeah.
wish him the best. And then I'm gonna be fighting November 11th. You know, here in Miami. And there's also gonna be another show, I believe, in December. So Miami's doing its thing right now.
And it's about time because I grew up watching some good fights down here. I saw Felix Trinidad down here, Frankie Randall,
Floyd Mayweather.
I saw Mayweather.
at
I saw
AAA.
Roy Jones. I saw Pernell Whitaker fight down here. I mean, some really really good fights. So hopefully this is like a rebirth here in South Florida. I mean,
Let's
who
do it for
doesn't-
Miami. Come on.
And especially in November and December, who wouldn't want to have an event down here in Miami? It's perfect weather, even though it's kind of rainy outside today.
Don't
But you'll get sunny skies, temperatures above the 70s. I mean, it's perfect. So
Weatherman Almondo.
weatherman. I learned from John Morales when I was at Channel 6. So learned from the best. But anyway, this is it for Boxing During Dinner for this week. We want to wish Harold best of luck. We'll be back with you guys, I guess, post election, man.
Yeah.
I know you guys are tired of it. We're ready to
Vote for us.
turn the page. Yeah, vote for Boxing During Dinner.